So today we're going to be talking about email marketing. Specifically, we're going to be looking at building a relationship with your list. Now, in some of my other videos, I've talked about having a lead magnet or an irresistible offer, which is basically an ethical bribe for your list designed to give a ton of value. So something that you really need to be aware of is that when people opt in to receive your lead magnet, they're trusting you with their personal information and allowing you to intrude in their email inbox. Now, it may just seem like an email address, but you've got to remember that people are bombarded with anything up to 300 marketing messages a day. It's crazy. Take a step back for a moment and think how you react or respond to new emails coming into your inbox, right? So people become defensive of their personal space, which is their inbox, and they think carefully about who they want to let in. So how do you filter out all the noise? How do you make your emails stand out in someone's inbox and what's basically an ocean of other marketing messages? Again, think about your own email inbox. You probably have tons of emails coming in, but out of all of them, how many of you actually really taken the time to go through? How many of you opened? How many of you fully engaged with? How many of you clicked through to whatever it is they're offering? The chances are high you're going to ignore most of these messages, and you're really going to only focus on a small handful of email messages which are directly relevant to you at that moment in time. I'm not saying that the other messages aren't relevant. You're only going to pick up on the thing that is most important to you at that given time. It's a bit like watching TV. You'll have shows which are your diehard favorites, and others you'll watch when you feel like it. And email marketing is the same. And this is a really important point, which I'll come back to in a moment. With email marketing, you're continuing the conversation you originally started with them. You're continuing to build a relationship. One of the downfalls of the digital age is that people seem to be so disconnected. There are so many tools for communication like Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube, and goodness knows what else. It's supposed to connect you, but the reality is for most of us that it's a distraction. You've probably found my stuff by going on YouTube or another social media platform, and that's something else because what you have in your inbox is a completely different ballgame. This is the point where you get very serious about the value and the messages you share with your email list, but you also get to have fun with it, and that's exactly what this video is all about. So in this video, I'm going to cover email marketing 101, the fundamentals. This is not an in-depth course in email marketing or anything like that because that would be a whole different program. But what I'm going to teach you in this video is how to approach your email marketing so it's easy to write, it's effective, it makes a real deep and lasting connection with your audience, it provides real value, and more importantly, it helps to make you money. And I promise it's going to be fun even if you hate writing. One of the things I've heard so many entrepreneurs who start off online complain about is not being able to write emails or not knowing how to write them to engage their subscribers and to sell. In fact, I remember when I was starting out and I had to write emails, I used to stare at a blank page and feel really overwhelmed. I didn't know how to write or what to write. And after taking the time to learn the things I'm about to share with you in this video, writing emails has become a breeze. And I'm no writer, let me tell you that. So if I can do it, I promise you can do it too. Sound good? Awesome. Let's do this. So here's something that you really need to understand. You don't want email after email going out to your list screaming, buy this, buy this, buy this, without adding any value or sharing a valuable lesson. If you do that, by the third or fourth email, your audience will be like, you know what? Screw this guy. I don't want to listen to him anymore. He keeps trying to sell me stuff, and he's just talking a load of crap. You're literally going to be headed for the junk folder faster than you can blink. But if you make your emails relevant, helpful, and entertaining, you can include a soft pitch for your stuff in every email, and people will love you, read your stuff, and even complain if they don't hear from you in a while. I like to think of emails as being infotainment. Woohoo! Which is essentially emails being informative but giving entertainment at the same time. And actually, it's a lot easier than you think. Email should do three things. Number one, it's going to be relevant to your audience and provide value. If you're writing emails for the sake of it or you're putting in random things, people will tune you out. It's that simple. Believe you me, I know it sounds really obvious, but you would be shocked at the number of emails I've opened in my lifetime where I've seen things that are really irrelevant to the conversation that's going on in my head. It has nothing to do with the reason why I actually subscribed to the list in the first place. I don't give a damn because my time is precious, and so is your audience's. It's about making sure that your messaging is on point, dialed in, and delivering value all the time. Number 2, email has to be consumable. By that I mean it's got to be easy to fun and easy to read, entertaining, and it's got to make people want to open your emails because they're going to enjoy reading what you wrote. Finally, emails for selling your products and services. You really can't get away from that because it's the whole point of building a list, but it has to be done properly. You want to get people buying from you without being pushy or salesy. The sale of your stuff should be super easy. The structure of your emails is something we're going to cover in detail. I'm going to tell you exactly how to set up your emails so people can buy from you. But before we get into that, I really just very quickly want to mention autoresponders, which is how you deliver your emails to your subscribers and customers. They're just a tool which is connected to your website that collects the email addresses and then allows you to send emails from. Remember, we briefly covered this when setting up Mailchimp to collect new subscribers off your website and to deliver your lead magnet. If you haven't seen that, make sure you check that out. Or if you need a refresher, we will leave some resources below to get you squared away. So don't panic about this stage, as I'll show you exactly how to get this set up. Regardless of which tool you use, because there are hundreds of them, just remember it's not about the tool or how fancy the tool is. You can have the best tool in the world, but if you have no idea how to make your messaging count, it doesn't mean anything. It's not the tool that's going to make your messages effective. It's what you write and how you structure them that's going to make the difference. Very quickly, as a side note, with a tool like ClickFunnels, which we use in combination with our WordPress website, you can have really customized paths. What I mean by customized paths is, let's say somebody comes into your world and they have opted in for one of your offers and you've sent them a series of emails, but they did not buy. They would then move into another sequence, which is perhaps designed to push them more towards finding out a bit more about the product or overcoming their objections to not buying. If they stop, for example, opening the emails, you might then move that person into a series of emails which is simply dedicated to providing pure value before you move them back into a sales sequence. There's just so many different things that you can do with that. It's a really specific and means a very customized path that every single person who comes into your world can take. Essentially, they are going to have their own journey. Remember earlier when we talked about the importance of list segmentation? Well, ClickFunnels dials in segmentation for you. It's extremely powerful, literally creating custom-tailored paths for individual prospects' needs and wants. It interacts and engages with your prospect just like a real-live salesperson does. This is like having a 24/7 real-live salesperson that responds to, adapts to, communicates with, customizes messages for your prospects. If you don't have ClickFunnels yet, don't worry. We'll cover this a little bit later. Okay, so moving on. What I want to cover specifically is not so much that particular journey, but rather what I want to cover is how to write your emails in a way that's fun, engaging, and easy for you to write, and even easier for your audience to read and want to read. Something that you need to be very, very aware of when you're writing your emails is the language and style. This is really going to depend upon who your target audience is. You would not talk to, let's say, a group of doctors in the same way as you would talk to, for example, the average person on the street. But I'm going to give you a good rule of thumb here in a second, okay? Don't use fancy words unless it's very industry specific. Let's say you're talking to a group of computer experts. That is fine to use technical language because that's the language they understand. So the key is awareness. However, if you're just talking to Mr. Average Joe on the street and you don't know what their expertise or their background is, then you would keep your language simple enough that a 7-year-old could read it. Seriously, if people cannot understand your message or your emails sound or seem too formal, they'll be like, I can't relate, and they'll just literally tune you out and switch off. I really, really want this to land for you. Write this down. Clarity trumps creativity always. Just say what you gotta say. Be conversational. Again, like you're speaking to a 7-year-old. Simple language has credibility. Convoluted language does not have the same credibility. The confused mind or prospect does not buy. I'm gonna say it again. The confused mind or prospect does not buy. Okay, So let's start off with how you get people to actually open your emails in the first place. Remember what I said about prospects getting hundreds of emails daily? How do you write powerful subject lines that hook your prospects into ignoring everything else in their inbox and opening yours? So I'm going to share with you 5 of my favorite ways to create awesome subject lines that get opened immediately. Number 1, curiosity and promise. This is one of my favorite ways to write subject lines because it's so darn powerful. People are nosy by nature and they want to know what the heck is going on. So they're naturally drawn to something that is out of the ordinary. Curiosity and promise will carry a sale, period. I can't tell you the number of products I bought in the past where I've seen a curious bullet point. You know the ones in the sales letters that tell you what's inside the product but don't actually tell you what it is? It'll say something silly like the secret 2-minute kick butt ninja method of selling that will skyrocket your sales through the roof. And I'll be like, damn, I gotta know what that is. I want it. I want to explode my product sales and I need this product. That's pretty powerful. And you can use the same technique in your email subject lines. Just remember the rule that it should be in relation to what your audience opted in for. In other words, it must be relevant and congruent to your audience. So here's an example of a great subject line for Websites Made Easy. How I started a 6-figure business online using this 10-minute secret. Now, if that's not intriguing, I don't know what is. The 10-minute secret I'm referring to is the time it took me to set up my first website. Pretty cool, right? So when you're sitting down to write email headlines or even crafting the opening of an email or sales script, etc., you want to think about how you can introduce and inject curiosity and how you can introduce and inject a promise of payoff. This is so powerful because it's that curiosity and promise that's going to keep your prospect engaged and wanting more. And when you give that curiosity and promise, you're opening a loop in their mind. So they want to close that loop and find out what that thing is. How does it deliver the promise? How does it work? Why does it work? Let me give you another example. Let's say you're a sales trainer. Your subject line could be something like disturbing things I do on the phone that stimulate sales. And your disturbing thing is actually that you magically talk people into buying your products without actually selling to them by educating them. Pretty cool, huh? Always be looking for curious and intriguing angles of how you can say something about what you do and sell because people are nosy and they can't resist ignoring your email. Number 2, popular culture and current affairs. I love this technique. This is basically taking characters, names, or lines from famous books, TV, movie, or music, or even famous quotes and phrases. The idea is to take something really familiar and put a twist on it, and you can do this in so many ways. So for example, if you're a copywriter selling a copywriting course, you might do something like what Batman and Superman can teach you about copywriting. And I'll give you a big tip here. If you're going to use this technique, either stick to what's current or stick to classics that everyone knows. For example, the 10 Commandments of writing copy that sells, which is obviously a play on the classic film The 10 Commandments. And you would follow through with this theme in your actual email, such as thou shalt write informally. You can also do the same with current affairs. So for example, your subject line might be something you've seen in the news, something to do with politics or something which happened in the world today that you can use to your advantage. So if you're selling a copywriting course, then a great example would be something like why Trump's campaign can make you a fortune selling online, which is obviously a play on Donald Trump's election campaign. People love popular culture and current affairs because it's relevant to them and they're aware of it, and you're able to bridge that awareness in terms of your products or services. So use it to your advantage. Number 3, weird or bizarre subject lines. You've probably seen bizarre or weird subject lines such as melt fat off your middle with this one weird spice, or bizarre shortcut to dropping 10 pounds in 2 weeks fast. Weird and bizarre subject lines don't always have to have the word weird or bizarre in it. The subject line itself can be weird. Here's a good one. What unicorns can teach you about business. Now, the reason that would work is that you know that there's no such thing as a unicorn, so that's a weird headline. Number 4, numbers. So this is straight up a list of things such as 7 ways to grow your business online or 5 ways to hit 6 figures because it tells the person exactly what they're going to get in their email and what to expect. This one is easy to do and you can give people tips, do's and don'ts, resources, tools, etc. People love lists, and by mentioning a specific number, they know exactly what they're going to get when they open your email. Always remember, as a matter of fact, write this down. Specificity sells. The more specific, the more believable. Specificity sells. Number 5, straight up benefit. Okay, so this one is pretty easy and straightforward. You talk about a proper benefit of your product or services. Always make it something your audience really wants to know or something they struggle with and how you solve it. So an example would be how to get clients in a tough economy. The how-to subject line is awesome for this. So you basically follow this format. How to, big benefit, and then mention the struggle, pain, frustration the person is having. So how to lose weight even if your motivation is low. Can you see how powerful this is? People are always curious about how-tos. So this is a great subject line. And by the way, it's also a good headline for your sales pages or landing pages too. Also, you can mix up your subject lines so they contain a mixture of different techniques, and that's going to give you dozens of ways to write subject lines that get opened. For example, let's say you have a weight loss product and one of your emails is about how doing circuit training dramatically increases your ability to burn fat. Your subject line might be something like this: blast your fat burning potential by 400% using this technique. This one has the combination of benefit and curiosity. Remember, we talked about this earlier. I've given them a huge benefit, which is blasting their fat burning potential by 400%. Then I've created intrigue and curiosity by simply referring to the method as this technique. So I've not directly mentioned it, but referenced it, thereby creating curiosity. And you can combine 2 or 3 things together to create super subject lines. There are, of course, other things as well you can do, but this is enough to get you started and comfortable doing these, as they're pretty easy to do. By the way, as a side note, make sure you check out the resources for this section because I've included a swipe file which also includes some of the best email subject lines, and you can play around with these and use them to help you write your own email subject lines. Okay, so on to the actual content now, and I promise this is going to be easier than you think. So rather than teach you a structure, I'm going to share with you 5 simple tips to get your emails read every time, which is not only really powerful, but also gives you more freedom to write with your own style. So first up, tell stories. You're going to love this, and it's so easy. There's a well-known saying which states that facts tell while stories sell. This is so true because stories were the primal way of communicating between people for thousands of years, and it's true even today. This is because stories help people process and remember information. In other words, humans are hardwired to respond to stories. It's also why we love movies and dramas, etc., because everyone loves a great story. You can use real-life events to inspire your stories, and if you use stories in everything you do, you'll steadily increase sales. Plus, you can use stories in all your sales material, videos, podcasts, etc., to make them way more relatable and entertaining. It's almost impossible not to finish a good story, which is why story-based emails get read. People are nosy and want to know how the story ends, and this forces people to read the entire email. It also encourages people to share your stuff so it goes viral and increases sales. Stories also bond people together, especially if they're personal stories, and they increase trust in people so they see you more like a friend. People buy from people who are friendly and not strangers. So how can you incorporate stories into your emails? There are a couple of ways you can do this. The first one is using everyday events to start your stories and always keeping them relevant to what you're selling. For example, let's say you sell a weight loss program. You might start your story with an incident that happened to you at dinner. It could go something like this. I sat down to eat dinner around 8 p.m. as per usual. Everything was perfectly normal until my wife put my plate in front of me. Now, if you started your email like this, I can virtually guarantee that people will want to continue reading. And you would continue with how your wife made the most delicious food ever, which was healthy and good for you. And you use the story to segue into your program in a very non-salesy call to action. That could be something like this. If you think healthy food should taste amazing and not like cardboard, check out my new weight loss program, which is perfect for people who love their food right here. And then you include a link to your program. Do you see how simple and easy that is? Nothing complicated, no hard sales pitch. You let your story do the selling. That's it. And by the way, you can always use any incident from your daily life as inspiration for your emails as long as there's a point to your story and you can bring it back to what you're selling, you'll be fine. You can even use a conversation you had with someone as a starter for your emails. The point is you need to become hyper aware of the things that happen to you daily. You want to brainstorm ideas. So in the niche that I'm in, which is marketing, let's say I turned up late for a medical appointment and got told off for not valuing the doctor's time. I could use this story in an email to talk about the value of your time and how to charge for it. You can take any incident or event and turn it into a lesson for your readers. You're only limited by your imagination. So share your mistakes and failures, your wins and triumphs. People will become attached and endeared to you, I promise. They'll love you and keep coming back for more because it's personal and it allows people an insight into your life and what you learn as a result of your daily struggles and events. People relate to the daily struggle. They relate to the failures and frustrations and see themselves in you. So be their hero and tell stories that inspire, hope, motivate, encourage, and straight up entertain. Woo! TV comedies and dramas are a great source of inspiration for writing your emails, and so is social media. And of course, the good old local newspaper. So start looking for stories that stop you in your day, and you'll be able to do the same when it comes to emails. Above all, read and read a lot to improve your emails in stories. The golden rule is make your stories fun to read. Make them intriguing and curious and entertaining and like good TV, but also share lessons and morals, insights, and people will tune in to read your emails the same way they tune in to watch their favorite TV show. If you're in the expert or mastery space, you can use a story concept called Meet the Master. It's basically the story of how you learned what you know now and how you got to where you are right now. You tie it into meeting a guru who passed on their wisdom to you. That could be any expert in your field, and what you're doing with this technique is you're basically borrowing credibility from the master. This creates instant trust, and it's ideal for the first email in a sequence of emails you send to your list. So this is storytelling in emails, and as you can see, it's pretty easy and not as scary as you might think. One of the biggest benefits of telling stories in your emails is that it's because you're relying on personal experience. You don't have to keep coming up with original content. You're offering your thoughts and perspective in a fun and fresh, original way, and this makes it relatable and encourages people to want to continue reading. I love storytelling, as you could probably tell by now, and so will you, and most importantly, so will your audience. So the second type of email you can write is the questions-based email. This is where you take questions your audience may be asking and turn it into a reader's dilemma question. It's a very powerful way to handle objections and skepticism and address it head on. Look at what kinds of questions people are asking on social media, well-known blogs and forums, etc. Take those questions and concerns and answer them in your emails, almost like an advice column from a newspaper. It's potent and it plain works. Okay, so the third kind of email is checklists or numbered list, and people love these kind of emails. Remember, specificity sells, a confused mind doesn't buy. So it's a straightforward 5 ways to do this. 7 useful tools to explode your business. 9 steps to your first 6 figures, etc. You get the idea. So to make this super effective, you need to focus on what and not the how. So you might share resources and tips and tell them what they are, but you do not give every detail of how to do something. By the way, this is true for all your emails, regardless of what kind of email you're writing. Sharing the what and not the how is crucial because people need to buy your stuff to find out the how. You're whetting people's appetites in the same way you taste food, but don't get the entire meal. Otherwise, why would they want to buy from you if you give them everything up front? By sharing the what and not the how, you create curiosity and desire. People think, oh, if these guys' emails are this good, I wonder what his paid products are like. So that's a huge secret I've given away there, and it's the difference between emails that sell and ones that don't. And that's good for you because it means that you don't have to do a lot of teaching, which we'll come to later. So the fourth type of email is commenting on current events, which is a super powerful way to make your email sharp and relevant to the current conversation in the minds of your prospect. Obviously, you need to ensure that if you use this angle, it has a tie-in to your product or service. By the way, you can also use this technique for books, films, music, and TV show releases, and this would follow on from using subject lines of the same kind. So the last kind of email, which I feel is really effective, is the what it's not kind of email. So you're writing emails as a list of things it's not. For example, if you were selling a weight loss product, you could say it's not diet pills or crazy cardio or spending long hours in the gym. But if you want to know exactly what it is, then you'll find the answer in my product. Basically telling them what something isn't. The best way to make this really work is to use commonly held beliefs in your market you know to be false. Again, you want to focus on the what and not the how. So that's 5 kind of emails that are pretty easy to write. Of course, you can write about things which are controversial or inspiring. You can gift people with resources every now and again, send surveys or quizzes. There's so many things that you can do with email. Before we move on, I wanted to share with you a couple of hints and tips when writing your emails. You can add value using soft teaching, but not hard teaching. Again, this goes back to teaching the what, but not the how. Think movie trailer and not movie clip, like a random movie clip. The first one is fun to watch and will excite you and want you to watch more. A random movie clip, on the other hand, gives you more detail, but you probably wouldn't want to go buy the film on it. Plus, if you teach the how, you'll attract a lot of freebie seekers and tire kickers who will come to expect your hard work for free and won't buy from you. So teach the what and not the how. Here's something you should bear in mind. You don't need to aim for perfection in your emails. Unless you're in a market that demands your emails are perfect, such as the medical field or teaching field, if you're writing in an entertaining format, spelling and grammar is less of an issue. Besides, you should write in a conversational manner that allows your personality to shine. In fact, this is very important. I really want this to land for you. When you're writing your emails, make sure it's very conversational, like you're just meeting someone or getting to know that person. So be very mindful of that and make it a one-on-one dialogue, like it's just you're speaking to one person and not a group of people, because people can feel that. A one-on-one conversation. If you get that right, you'll be a lot better off writing your emails and creating that connection you're looking for. Another really awesome tip is to start your email with just a few words or a single sentence. Very often, email providers like Gmail and Outlook will display the first line of text as a preview to the email you're writing, so make sure it's good. Plus, if you start with a single line and can get people to read that, they're much more likely to continue to read the whole thing. Avoid using long paragraphs or sentences and keep the information to the point. You want people to read your emails without feeling overwhelmed with chunks of text. If you're going to include links to your product, use the full URL instead of short links. Sometimes links in emails don't work for whatever reason. And if you have the full URL present, people can type it into their browser. Plus, people get weirded out if they see crazy looking links in emails. So use the full URL that you're directing people to. Don't hard sell in every email. You can use the PS to do that at the end. PS, if you want to learn more, be sure to check out my product here and include the link. If you feel that's too much, do what I do when I sign off in my emails. You'll see I always include my full URL of websitesmadeeasy.tv at the end of my emails under my name. That's a non-intrusive way of helping people find out more about your stuff without being salesy. As for the length of emails, they should be as short as they need to be. 200 to 300 words is the ideal length of an email because people have a very short attention span these days. So always keep it short and sharp. If you want to send people to a blog post, I recommend sharing the first few paragraphs of your post in your email. Then your call to action is click here to keep reading, and you include the URL to your blog post. And when you send your emails out, try and personalize them by using your name so people can see it as a real person with a real personality who sent the email and not some nameless face of an organization. After all, you want people to know that it's you sending them awesome emails. As a general rule, you want to test sales first and test click-through rates and open rates second. Most people do it the other way around. If you do it like this, you'll always sell more. Put it this way, having 100 really responsive people on your list who buy your stuff is better than having 1,000 people who never buy. It's not the size of your list, but the quality and how responsive your list is that counts. So the last tip I want to share with you is to reuse your emails as blog posts on social media, in newsletters, and magazines, even turn them into podcasts and videos so you get more mileage out of your content. This is how you work smart and not hard. Ultimately, you can repurpose your emails and plug them right into your content capture system. Finally, some words of wisdom before you email your subscribers. People will unsubscribe from you, and some may even mark you as spam. From my experience, I can tell you this is more often the case when you don't send regular emails to your list, or you're sending too many buy my stuff emails. But don't be put off by that. In fact, you want people to unsubscribe because if they're never going to buy from you anyway, why are they there? Okay, so you've got the emails done, and now you want to send them out. How frequently you email your list is a hot topic among marketers, and is really going to depend very much on how you've set their expectations and whether or not you're in a really rabid market. As a general rule of thumb, though, if you do not email your subscribers regularly, your list will begin to decay. Decay means people forget about you, and when you start emailing them again, they mark you as spam because you're no longer relevant to them. Industry stats state that decay sets in around 30 to 60 days or sooner in some markets. Some markets allow you to send emails daily, while other markets once a week is about right. When you're just starting out, it's tough to know how often is too much. So get onto lots of different competitors' lists and see how often they send mail out. Remember, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Model what your competitors are doing. Success leaves clues. Follow the people that are clearly having success at this and model that. Just starting out, I recommend every 3 days or so, and certainly no less than weekly because you don't want people to forget about you. One thing to mention here is that you need to tell people exactly how often to expect mail from you. And you can do this in your welcome email, so when people sign up to your list, you send out a welcome email, and aside from giving them the thing they opted in for, you also tell them that they'll receive a weekly newsletter, plus you'll be sending out regular emails containing tips and resources to help you with whatever problem it is. When you first get a lead, you ideally want to be sending out an email at least every 3 days at the barest minimum because you're still fresh in the mind of your prospect. The idea is to hit them with incredible value with those initial emails to try to get them to buy. That's basically how it should be. So I recommend a really cool technique I picked up from a really top copywriter named Ben Settle, who created a 30-day email challenge. And I'm going to share that with you here because I think it's invaluable and just awesome and a great way to start. And it's a system. So his idea is that you send out emails daily for 30 days minus the weekend. So that's 20 emails, one for every weekday over 4 weeks. The reason he recommended this technique is that if you've never done email marketing before, it's going to push you to do it. And by the end of 30 days, you'll be a much better writer with some cash in the bank too. So it's a win-win. Done properly, you'll get a surge of sales for your products or services, and I'll put out a disclaimer right now that it's not for the faint of heart. And as I mentioned earlier, mailing daily is not for every market, but it's certainly worth testing. What I will say here is that the barest minimum you need to be emailing once every 3 days, and that means that over a 30-day period, you'll be sending at least 10 emails. If you want to, you can stretch the entire 30-day email challenge over 60 days, meaning for the next 60 days, your list is going to get an email every 3 days. Does that make sense? After that, you can continue at the same pace, or you can send once or twice a week. And you'll know what to do by checking your unsubscribe rates and open rates. If people are opening your emails and responding to you, keep going. Let me tell you something that every good entrepreneur will tell you, and that is failing to plan is planning to fail. So many entrepreneurs procrastinate when it comes to email marketing. Maybe they hit writer's block when they sit in front of their computer to write the emails. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and when you finally hit the send button, people unsubscribe in chunks or mark you as spam. This is why the 30-day email challenge is so effective. You deliberately create your email schedule beforehand and plan it out for your challenge so there's no, what should I write today? So a simple plan might look like this. Start with your welcome email on day 1 and then plan out at least 30 days of emails. For example, email 1, maybe it's a weird email. Email 2, Q&A or questions and answers. Email 3, tell a story. Email 4, a checklist. Email 5, current affairs. And then continue like this, planning out your emails and mixing it up from the ideas you've learned for the entire challenge. There's no right or wrong way, but you need to mix it up. And then you need to stick to it. Consistency, remember? You've got to stick to this. Boredom is the death of a sale because if people are bored, they won't read what you have. They'll think, oh, he's just going on about the same thing again and again. So mix it up. Use all the ideas I've shared with you in this video and add your own. And don't forget to plug your stuff in your emails. The point is, you have drastically improved by the end of the 30-day period. By and large, I don't think an email should take any longer than 20 to 30 minutes to write, or you're overthinking it. If you keep your emails short and to the point so people can read them in around a minute or so, perfect, because emails which get consumed often are the ones that make the most money. And don't write for the sake of it. Your audience has to find value in your insights. So ask yourself if your prospects would want to read your emails. In other words, is it worth their time to read your stuff? And if you approach all your emails like this, you'll get better and better, and more people engage with you, love your stuff, and buy from you. They'll look forward to hearing from you, and it will help you grow your business and your community in the process. And yes, no matter how good or how big you get, you'll always get some people unsubscribing, but that's okay. They weren't going to buy from you anyway. Don't let that put you off from putting your best stuff out there. It's a process, and you got to fall in love with the process. You'll learn from it, and you'll grow in ways you never expected, I promise. So that's it in a nutshell. I know this has been a huge video, but I've given you everything you need to write emails which educate and entertain, which build your brand and your business, and more importantly, which people love to read and take action on in the form of sales. It's not hard. It just requires a little thought and planning and consistency in getting yourself out there. But I promise the results are going to be so worth it.